All right. Hello, East Central ISD. Thank you so much again for watching another edition of Facebook and YouTube Live. And we have some great updates, important updates for you tonight. And of course, we can't do updates district-wide without the main man himself, the Superintendent, Roland Toscano. Mr. Toscano, how are you doing this evening?
Doing fantastic, Brandon. Glad to be here and glad to be with the community this evening.
And giving him a few more seconds, I see the uptick in viewers. It's going up, so just trying to give everyone a shot at getting in here. But we just came off the holiday break, first week of school back, and without doing a deep dive yet into everything that we're going to talk about. I mean, how was the first week of school coming off the winter break?
Yeah, I thought it was fantastic. Everybody got back in the groove. I mean, I heard a lot of comments across the district from staff suggesting that they were just ready to come back, that the break was adequate, but they missed the kids and they were ready to get back to work. And we did see a little bit of a decline in the number of kids who showed up face-to-face the first few days of the week. And we reached out to those who had been coming face-to-face to encourage them to get back in to our buildings. But all in all, it was a really, really smooth week, and we got back to work.
All right, well, we'll do a deeper dive in a second. But I know, Mr. Toscano, one of the things that occurred this week and a lot of parents are asking about are report cards, grades, and so let us know what's going on.
Yeah, so hopefully everybody received the correspondence from the district about the delay in our ability to get printed report cards home. We would normally have sent them out at the end of this week, but we are in transition from a student information system known as ITEX, which we've used for years, which is being sunsetted. It's going away and will no longer be accessible to the district. And we're moving and transitioning to a new student information system called Ascender. So in that transition period, the old dinosaur, ITEX, is starting to have some issues, and that is where our report cards are generated through the Regional Service Center, and the Regional Service Center is having some challenges right now. And so as a result, we're in the process of identifying some workarounds, and we think we've identified some solutions for getting printed report cards home to students early next week. We're working closely with Region 20 and Region 13 out of Austin to get that done. But what I thought we could do tonight is help the community refamiliarize themselves with Texas Connect if they haven't engaged with Texas Connect in a while. And for any maybe that haven't engaged with Texas Connect at all, that perhaps we can help folks get connected, because through Texas Connect, all parents can see their children's grades in the most updated, the most up-to-date grades. In fact, those that would be reflected on their report cards, you could see those immediately. And so between now and when we can send report cards home, that's where we can access grades as parents. And so at this time, I've invited Mary Ray, our instructional technology specialist in the district, who leads the work around Texas Connect, among many other things, for us. And she's going to give all of us on the call tonight a little bit of an overview of Texas Connect and a tour, if you will. So Mary, welcome.
Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Toscano. I think what I'm going to start off doing is showing our parents how they can create a Texas Connect account. So the first thing that you'll need to do, though, before you attempt to create your account, is you need to obtain a portal ID for your student. And this portal ID is a 10-character ID that is used to associate the student information with the appropriate parent account. So we want to make sure that the right student is connected to the right account. Now, to get this portal ID, you would contact your child's campus. Okay, they would be your first line. If for some reason you have difficulty getting that portal ID, you can always send me an email and I would be more than glad to help you with that situation. My email is mary.ray@ecisd.net. And it's also on the Texas Connect site, so we'll be able to show you that in just a second. So to begin the process of creating your account, you're going to go to the district website at www.ecisd.net, and you're going to click on the Family Resources tab. When that page loads, you'll scroll down until you get to the T section, and you're looking for Texas Connect grades. This is the link to the login screen, okay? So once you're here on the login screen, as a new user, you will look right here in this section that says New Texas Connect User, and you will click the Here button. This is where you begin the account creation process. So you'll select a username. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be creating an account for one of my grandchildren. So this will be just a student account. So I'll create a username that has 6 to 25 characters. They can be all letters, all numbers, or a combination of the two. This is not case sensitive, okay? And then you're going to select a password. The password is case sensitive. It must be between 8 and 25 characters, and it requires you to contain at least 3 different character types. So capital letters, lowercase letters, numbers, or punctuation. So I'm going to enter a password here for this account. Repeat the password. And then I need to enter in an email address. So for the student account, they can simply use their school email. For parents, it is very important that the email account that you use is currently on file with the district as a parent contact for your student. This is very important because only parent contact emails will have access to online registration within Texas Connect. So if you have some questions about whether or not your email address is on file, you can always reach out to your campus to verify. Let me finish entering the student email address. And then I'm going to go over here to the right-hand corner and click Next. Well, maybe I had a typo here. Let's try that again. Okay. In this step, you're going to select a hint question. This will be a security question that will help you reset your password or retrieve your username should you forget them. So there are some standard questions here. You would simply select the question that you would like to answer, and then you'll type in your answer. Now, the answer is case sensitive, so you do need to remember whether or not you've used capitals or lowercase letters. And then you'll click the Next button. On this page, this is where you're going to enter that portal ID that I was talking about. So it's, as I said, 10 characters long, a combination of letters and numbers. Some are capitals, some are lowercase, and they are specific to each student. So you will have a different portal ID for every student. And then you'll be asked to enter your child's date of birth. Once you have that information entered, you're going to click Add. And the student's name will then populate over here on the right. If you have multiple students, you can add them all to the same Texas Connect account. You do not need to have a separate account for every child, okay? For student accounts, though, we do recommend that an account that's created with a student email be just for that specific student. Another piece that I'm not going to be able to show you today because this is one of the problems that we're experiencing with our regional service center. It has to do with email addresses, but you would, in the future, you will be able to request a verification code be sent to your email, and then you would type in that verification code here so that it verifies your email address. It's not a problem if you create your account now and this function is not available, because you can always go back later and add it, okay? And I'll show you where to do that once we get into the account. And I'm going to click the complete button, and it now takes me into Texas Connect. So I get this little notification letting me know that if I am the student's parent guardian, then I'll see this registration button located in the sidebar. If I'm not using an email that's listed as a parent or guardian in the student records, then that button is not going to be available. So in this case, this is a student account, so there is no button available for registration, okay? So this is the summary page, and I can see the student's class schedule. There is also some information here about a mobile site that is available for mobile devices. This particular site is malfunctioning right now. It's one of the issues that we're having with ITEX and our regional service center. So for those of you who have been using the mobile site on a tablet or a phone, you are going to need to use the internet browser, and you're going to need to go to the district website to access the Texas Connect login screen, and you're going to just need to connect to Texas Connect through the browser for the time being until they get this up and running again. Up here at the top, you're going to see multiple tabs. The attendance tab will let you see attendance for the student, and you can also check previous semesters. Right now, we've started semester 2. You can go back and look at semester 1, and you can see their attendance. On the grades page, you see grades currently for your student. We are in semester 2, so you would need to go back and navigate to semester 1, and then you'll see the grades for the student. Now, if you would like to see specific assignments for your student, you'll go here to the Assignments tab. You can also click on the teacher's name, and it will open up your email so that you can directly email the teacher if you have any questions or concerns. So you can do that straight here from Texas Connect. So here on the Assignments page, I would simply select which course I wanted to look at the assignments for. I'm looking at Cycle 1. I'd like to see all assignments, and then I can click Find Assignments. It doesn't look like it's, oh, there's no standards-based assignments, maybe for, let's try. This may be something that's not currently working, unfortunately. We'll try this on another student in a moment that's in a higher grade because it may be a kindergarten issue. And then the alerts page is not working currently, but on the alerts tab, it will allow you to set notifications when a grade falls below a certain threshold, or if a student is tardy or absent to a particular class or for the day. And you can choose to get notifications sent to your email or to a phone number. And then finally, the My Account tab. This is where you could add additional students in the future. This is also where you can do the verification code for your email address. So you can click the Resend Code button at a later date, and it will send a new email to your email address with a verification code that you can enter. You can also choose to add a mobile phone number so that you can get text message notifications from Texas Connect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to log out of this account, and I'm going to log into a parent account. So that you can see the difference between a parent account and a student account. Okay, So here we are on the parent account. You can see that I have the button available to complete registration. So this confirms that this particular email address is on file in the student's records as a parent contact. I also have multiple students that I can view. I simply toggle on the student's name to switch between viewing their grades and their attendance. And then when I go to, I'm going to see if this will show up on this particular account. Okay, so alerts have been set up for this student. And if I go to subscribe to alerts, this is what you normally will see when it's functioning properly. It will allow you to choose whether or not you have alerts sent at all, and then whether or not it's for the first occurrence of the day, or if you want alerts for every occurrence. This is with regards to absences. And then you can choose unexcused, excused, tardies. Your average alerts, this is where you would choose to have it send you an alert for the overall course average. And then this is where it would send you alerts for individual assignments. You can set a threshold if you would like it to send you an alert, say if the grade falls below 80. So you would just select custom, and then you could change the grade here to reflect whatever threshold you would like for it to be. And you can do this for the overall course average and for the individual assignments. And you can also have alerts sent if there are incomplete or missing assignments. And then finally, the alert notification type would be, I have mine set up to send me as text messages. And then you would click Save Subscriptions. So this would be to get notifications with regards to grades and attendance. You do need to do this for each child. Okay? And once again, you're here in my account. You can see by the green check mark, this confirms that the account does have access. It matches a parent contact, and I'm a guardian, so I can do electronic registration forms. So that's just important to know. If you're having problems with registration later this spring, this would be the reason why. We need to make sure that your email is set up as a parent or guardian contact. I think that I have covered just about everything except for the forgot password piece. So I'm going to log out. And if you have forgot your username or password, you would click this button here on the sign-in screen. And at this time, the email option is not working. But once our regional service center gets all of the kinks and iTex is running, is fully functional again, you should be able to use the email option to reset your password. For the time being, you will need to enter your username and then answer the security question to reset your password. Of course, if you have forgotten your username, because the email function is not working right now, you can contact me, and I would be more than happy to look that up in the main dashboard. I can't see passwords, but I can see usernames, and I can help you with that if you'd like to send me an email. My email is listed here on the login screen, right here under the returning users area. It's mary.ray@ecisd.net. So that was really, I think, everything that we were going to cover. I'm looking at my notes to see if there was anything. Oh, I think there was one more thing. We talked a little bit about report cards and the fact that we're trying to get paper copies sent out. We also have the ability to view report cards and progress reports digitally in Texas Connect. So I'm waiting for this to log back in. There is a link typically that will show up on the summary page when those are available. This is not working at the time, but typically a link will show up here that you can click on, and it will allow you to download a digital copy of the progress report or the report card. So that function is one of those features that they are currently trying to reinstate. We're having some problems with it, but in the future, you should be able to access it here on the Summary tab.
All right. Thank you, Mary.
You're welcome.
We've had your email scrolling at the bottom of the Facebook Live. We also want to reiterate that, you could also reach out to your campus for assistance with Texas Connect as well. But Mary Ray is always accessible via email, and she does this on a regular basis as well, but she's not the only one that can help you with this. We do appreciate your understanding and your patience. We are at the mercy of the Regional Service Center and the challenges that they're having in this transition at this time. But we'll work through it. We'll make sure that we all know the progress that your children are making and what our next steps are. And sooner than later, we'll get those paper copies out to you. But one thing we're learning during this time is it is a great opportunity to try some things differently and learn a little bit more about some of the technology that has been uncomfortable for us in the past. And so we'll just embrace this as another opportunity to learn more about Texas Connect as parents, and me included. So thank you, Mary, for your time this evening.
You're very welcome.
Greatly appreciate it. Very helpful.
All right. Let me take down our screen. There we go.
Right. Yeah, so I thought we'd spend some time now just updating the community about COVID.
All right, I'm ready.
Well, let's do it. So as we all know, we've been monitoring on a weekly basis the San Antonio Metro Health Dashboard. And as we all know, and as we've seen on the nightly news, the mayor reporting that, the number of positive cases continues to grow. And we all feared that that may be the case after the Thanksgiving holiday. We saw a little uptick during that time. And I think over the Christmas break, we saw an uptick throughout that time. And we're seeing a continuation of that. That dashboard is currently, as you can see, in the orange area or severe. If you'll scroll down, or actually Brandon, hit the link under View Progress and Warning Indicators. And you can see that the positivity rate in lab testing is 23.2. And underneath that, where it says weekly positive test percentage of total test, you can see that as the weeks have gone on since the first week of December, that the percentage of folks who took a COVID test in each of those weeks that tested positive is growing. So again, as I've tried to explain many times, that doesn't mean that 23.2% of the San Antonio community is positive for COVID-19. It just simply means that of the population that took the test that week, 23.2% of those tests were positive. That does indicate, though, that we do see a rising number of cases, and we need to continue to be diligent in monitoring our reentry protocols. And so as a community, we also know that we've mirrored this Metro Health Dashboard with a reentry protocol. And so given that it's in the orange area or severe area, that puts us in phase 4 as a school district. And one thing that dashboard was built upon as it relates to Metro Health's recommendation for school reentry is that Metro Health has indicated that reentry based on where we are with COVID-19 is based on capacity of a space. What we did initially, because of all the unknowns that we were facing way back in August, was we didn't use capacity. We used a percentage of enrolled students. And so at this point, we've shifted to capacity because essentially what it means is, if you got room for 400 students in a building or 4,000 students in a building, it makes a difference with regard to how many you can fit in that space and keep them spread out, right? And keep them safe and follow all risk mitigation requirements. And so as it relates to enrollment, if you have 300 students enrolled in a school and you have half of them allowed to be in the building, you're allowing 150 kids in the building, but you might have capacity for 1,000. And so there's a difference, is all I'm saying. And so we're paying attention to capacity in phase 4. You know, we're at a point where a lot of our students are going to be served remotely, which as the school year has gone, about half of our students have been being served remotely. And as it relates to capacity, we don't want to occupy more than 25% of the space in any of our buildings. We want to be around that 25% of our capacity. And so the capacity of our schools includes classroom spaces. It includes spaces like the library and the cafeteria and gymnasiums and spaces that are in the hallways that are collaborative learning spaces. And so in achieving 25% capacity, we also need to realize that to keep kids safe and staff safe, that we need to use as much of that space in the building that is available to us as possible. And so those are the things that we've been doing. Again, we strictly adhere to all risk mitigation to include distancing. We move kids frequently. We keep them in small groups and rotate those groups. And where we have larger numbers of students in classrooms, we double that, meaning that we also add desk carrels in addition to the mask and distancing and all the other things we're doing. And so, as we said last time we met, we have been able to accomplish, fortunately, no transmission of COVID-19 based on contact tracing in each instance in our schools or in our buildings. In other words, at this point, we haven't had any confirmation of a staff member to a staff member transition while at work, or staff member to student, or student to staff, or student to student. And so for those reasons, we haven't determined that we've had any outbreaks, while we have had our fair share of positive cases of COVID-19 in staff and students. And so currently we're in phase 4. It is getting more serious. We are able to return, and we're able to return as we left before the break. We're within 25% capacity, which we'll take a closer look at where we are campus to campus here in just a moment. And we feel that where we currently are meets the requirements for phase 4 and keeping everybody safe as it relates to risk mitigation. So Brandon, if you would transition to enrollment. And again, this top spreadsheet is just tracking the students that are attending school at each campus. That first column is those that are attending face-to-face every day. The second column are those that have chose to attend and remain in attendance on the emergency schedule that we implemented a couple of weeks, 3 or 4 weeks into the school year. And so those students in column 2 attend 2 or 3 days a week, so essentially every other day. Those in column 3 are the numbers that are only attending remotely, most of them synchronously, some asynchronously, and at times a combination. And then the last column is the total number of students enrolled at that particular campus. And so overall, we're still hovering at about 48% of our students in the district are at school on any given day face-to-face. We're closer to 60% of our students that are here face-to-face at least some of the time. If you'll scroll down a little bit, Brandon, what we are also continuing to track in addition to that is what percentage of our students that are enrolled in each of those campuses are in our buildings daily. And as I tried to explain earlier, that's different than the percentage that makes up of the building's capacity being occupied. And so if I were to take East Central High School, for example, we have 33% of our students who are actually in the building on any given day. That would be 340 every day and half of 1,272 every other day. So that's 33% of the enrolled number of students of 3,224. But the high school, the entire facility, South Campus, the Cass Lead facility, and the main campus have an occupancy per the fire marshal, a combined occupancy of 9,915 students. And so the number of students that are there every day and staff are actually occupying 10% of the available space. Keep in mind that in phase 4, we want to stay at 25%, around 25% or less. And so at the high school, we're in really good shape. If you look at Legacy and you look at Heritage, again, with regard to capacity, 13%, 19%. You go to Oak Crest and Highland Forest, 12 and 13%. And you look at Salado, we're right there at that 25%, 26%. So we're at the threshold, and we have to work really hard to continue to risk mitigate, but it's possible, and we're doing it. Pecan Valley and Tradition are at 16 and 15% of capacity. St. Clair's at 24% of capacity. They're at that threshold for phase 4. And then Harmony at 19% capacity. As a school district, we're occupying 12% of our buildings. And so we're monitoring that very closely as well. And I just wanted to hopefully better explain the difference between the percentage of students enrolled in our buildings that are here every day versus what that constitutes in terms of capacity of our buildings that is actually being occupied. Then as it relates to COVID cases, as you're all aware, on our health services webpage, this is posted and updated weekly, sometimes daily. Since the district is opened in August, we've had a total of 214 positive cases, 119 of those being employees. Of the 1,400 employees that we have in our district, 119 have been positive at any point in time since we've opened. Out of just under 10,000 students, we've had approximately 95 students who have been positive at one point in time. And so what we track here on this page additionally is positive cases of students and employees by campus. And then on the right, we're also monitoring zip codes in the East Central Independent School District. And so as I've tried to explain several times, when you look at the bottom row there of that particular spreadsheet, you'll see the Bexar County population of just over 2 million. The number of total cases, there's 13,600 active currently, which makes up 0.7% of the population in Bexar County is actively positive with COVID-19. But 106,000 citizens in Bexar County of the 2 million-ish have been positive at some point in time during this pandemic, which amounts to 5.2% of the population. It doesn't mean that 5.2% of the population currently has COVID. It means that 5.2% of the population in Bexar County have had COVID at one time or another. 0.7% currently have COVID. And then if you look at each of the zip codes above, that is the zip codes that feed East Central ISD schools. You can see there the total number of folks in the population, total number of active cases currently. So for example, in 78223, there are 423 East Central ISD citizens who currently have COVID-19. We have had in 78223 3,643 cases during this pandemic, which makes up 6.7% of the 78223 zip code. And so we monitor that as well and have been throughout the course of the school year. And then below that, we also track weekly progress. And so we've been monitoring to see if we're seeing trends in student positive cases or staff positive cases from one week to the next. And of course, around Thanksgiving, we started to see an uptick in cases, students and staff, but very minor. And then over the break and this week, we saw a balloon in terms of the numbers. But when we unpack that a little bit, the week of December 19th through January 3rd was when we were on our Christmas break. And during that time, we had 3 students notify us that they were positive. We had 32 employees across the district notify us that they were positive over the holiday. Now, when we returned this week, we were notified of 30 students and 26 staff. But the important part to point out is of the number of students, the 30 students, 28 of those notified us this week that they were diagnosed with positive for COVID-19 during the holiday. So of those 30 students, only 2 were identified this week. So the 28 students that weren't identified this week either returned to school because they completed their 14-day quarantine and no longer have symptoms, or they're still completing their quarantine and they've not returned to school yet. Same exact story with staff. This week, we identified 11 employees across the district who were positive this week. But the other 15 employees of the 26 notified us this week that they were positive over the holiday. Some of those who completed their quarantine period and no longer have symptoms returned to work. Some are still in a quarantine. But those that we're talking about here were never at school or at work when they were diagnosed positive, and they've either finished a quarantine before returning, or they're still finishing a quarantine before they're allowed to return. So the numbers are larger. They're definitely something that gets our attention, but when you unpack them, it makes a little more sense, and it leads us to believe that as long as we continue to be really aggressive about risk mitigation, that we can continue to manage this in such a way that we continue to stay open for face-to-face instruction for those that prefer that modality. Also, under that tab to the right of the positive cases by location, you are very aware that we partnered with Community Labs, who's providing free weekly testing for volunteers, students, and staff. And we've gradually began to increase that. We do all of our students and staff at Cass Lead. We haven't had a positive case this week there, though we've had one the first week of December. And then at the high school, we've been testing there as well. You can see the number of staff and the number of students tested, 1 student negative and 5 staff. So remember, this week we had 11 active cases of employees. 5 were staff members at the high school, and we had 2 students, and one of those was at the high school. We expanded testing to staff at our middle schools the week before the break and this week. And beginning on Tuesday, on Mondays going forward, we'll be testing at the high school, and on Tuesdays we'll be testing at every other campus across the district. You should have been notified by your campus that there is an option for your child to volunteer to be tested. And all of our staff have the option to volunteer to be tested. They are very non-invasive, very quick. In fact, I'll have Brandon in just a moment go to our webpage where we have more information about the testing, a short video, FAQs. But again, as you can see at the high school and at Cass Lead, we've been doing it for a number of weeks. It's really quick. It's really accurate. It's the PCR test. I believe that's the correct acronym. And we'll get results in 12 hours. And the deal is, we're testing volunteers who do not believe they're positive. To their knowledge, they've not been exposed, they've not been in close contact, and they're not experiencing any symptoms. So all of the positives that come from this voluntary testing are asymptomatic. And that is proven to be one way to improve our risk mitigation, because folks who are asymptomatic and didn't know that they were positive for COVID could be transmitting it and not know it. So when we can identify these folks immediately and before they have any symptoms, then we can have them quarantined and slow the spread of COVID-19, and certainly make sure it doesn't happen while we're at work and at school. And so you can see there that at Heritage this week, we actually had 6 positive cases, none of which were symptomatic. So we'll go in just a moment, Brandon, to the Community Labs. This would be primarily for elementary parents who this may be their first encounter, since we'll be offering it beginning next week. But we also partner with an organization called Con Corazon, who provides the same test for any students or staff and potentially family of students who are presenting with COVID-like symptoms. So once you have symptoms, this particular testing is not for you. Once you have symptoms, we want you to get tested in a very reliable way, in a free manner, and in a way that gets results really quick, because what that allows us to do is rule out COVID-19 and enables us to contact trace immediately, or not if it's not COVID-19. So this time of year, we've got all kinds of COVID-like symptoms that are related to sinus and allergies, that are related to flu, that are related to other ailments that are not COVID-19. But because of the nature of the environment we're living in today, without something like this partnership with Con Corazon, we would have to default an error on the side of it being COVID-19, and we would maybe send somebody home, maybe contact trace, notify others they may have been in close contact, only to find out 3, 4, or 5 days later that it wasn't COVID-19. So this partnership with Con Corazon, I believe, will make us more efficient in identifying more quickly whether we're dealing with a COVID issue, and get people taken care of, and those that aren't actually diagnosed with COVID-19 back to work and back to school, and everyone around them would be safe. So Brandon, if you would just show where this community labs testing information would be found.
Sure. It's at ecisd.net/health. I'll make a banner for you guys at the bottom of the screen, but you definitely want to bookmark that page. Let's see, I'm adding that right now to the broadcast. And when you go to it, this is our health services page. We have a lot of great information up here, but one of the things is about community labs. And there is a video from community labs basically going over what the testing day looks like. And there's also some frequently asked questions as well, that we get, very frequently. And so you can check that out as well. I do want to point out to Mr. Toscano that Con Corazon information is also on the same health page as well, that they can, go check out as well. So bookmark that page, ecisd.net/health. And we're keeping everything. Coronavirus numbers, the things that we went over tonight, that's up there as well. So there's a lot of resources. ecisd.net/health. Bookmark that page, and you can access it anytime.
All right. So the testing is voluntary. We encourage as many as are comfortable with it. The more, the better. It gives us better information and allows us to mitigate the risk of an outbreak better. The other thing that we're optimistic about is the vaccines on the horizon. We know that we're in phase 1B as a community, and that educators, those that provide for the education of students and communities, are included in 1B. And, like everybody else who's had access to a vaccine, it's been, tough to get really accurate information. And we know that logistically the deployment of all those vaccines seems to have been challenging for us as a community and as a country. And so we're remaining diligent in, keeping our ear to the ground, and hopefully leveraging partnerships that can help give us access as a school community to those vaccines sooner than later. But we know that they're here, and we know that our access to it is on the horizon. We do have many staff across the district that have already received the vaccine. But as soon as things seem to get more accessible, we're going to get that information to our staff, and any staff across the district that, prefer to take the vaccine. We encourage everybody to do that. That to us is a light at the end of the tunnel towards some degree of normalcy, and getting everybody back to school, and getting us back to business in a more effective manner. Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess I already see questions pumping up.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at the some of the questions that we've gotten here. Is the testing for remote learners, if they need be, and where would the student take if remote, the high school or their school?
So we're talking about community labs COVID testing, I'm assuming, and they would take it at their campus. And I believe, actually, Brandon, on this same webpage, there information about the testing. There's a consent form, and then we have the schedule per campus. So AS Northam, if you're interested and your child happens to be a remote student, but you want them to participate in the screening, the COVID screening, you would complete the consent form, and then depending on your child's campus, you can see that beginning on the 12th Tuesday, the time that they will be providing that exam. Of course, the students are socially distanced. They're all wearing their mask. It's a very controlled administration. Of course, it'll be the first time that each of these campuses, other than the 2 junior highs, are administering the test. But we've had really good luck. We've been very pleased with how it's organized and how rapidly it happens. And again, how non-invasive it is for the students and the staff. It's a really quick process. And then we get those test results in 12 hours. So, for those campuses that test between 8 and 9:30 in the morning, by 5 or 6 in the afternoon, we have those results, and you'll be contacted directly from the lab if there's a positive, and we'll be contacted as well and work together with Metro Health to get you taken care of and stay with you through the process.
Here's a good question, and Jalen was right on top of it too. She has an answer. I'll display both.
Yeah.
Jamie asked if a child already has had COVID-19, should they still sign up for the weekly testing? Do we know if reinfection is likely, or will it just waste tests for others? And the head of our nurses here at East Central, Jalen, says Metro Health recommends waiting 3 months before retesting. So that's, like it's like the original question said, if the child has already had COVID-19, Metro Health recommends waiting 3 months before retesting.
Yeah. So, Jalen will jump in here and correct me if I'm not totally accurate, but that 3-month window in part is because we, after being positive, would have antibodies, but it would also be because it would likely still present a positive result for that window of time, but we would no longer be at risk of transmitting the virus. After that 14-day window, with no longer having symptoms, you're safe to return to work or school. And of course, we all wear masks and distance and mitigate those risks. And you would continue to do that even though you've had COVID-19, but you're seemingly less likely to recontract it during that time, especially if you're risk mitigating. But there would be no need to test for 3 months. So I hope that answered the question. And Ms. Hart, I hope I was accurate in what I said. And if not, please correct me.
All right. And then we did get a comment, but I want to bring Mary Ray back on. This one is actually about the Text Connect and things of that nature. So I'm going to bring her back up. Hello, Mary Ray.
Hello.
Lydia asks or says she hasn't been able to see assignments for her daughter through the phone app all semester.
So my understanding, the assignments tab, that feature is not available through the mobile site. But if you're on a mobile device and you access Texas Connect through the web browser, you should be able to see it.
So, Mary, they would go to ecisd.net on their mobile device and then go to Family Resources, go down to Texas Connect, log in that way, and then they can actually have full access to what they would as if they were on a desktop.
Yes, exactly. When I inquired about this, because I had a few other parents that had contacted me earlier in the year, I was told that it just seems to be a function that's not working in the mobile site.
All right, I'm actually at the website right now. So, yeah, we are getting some questions in regards, to mobile. Earlier this week, and if you go so basically saying get on a computer, not a mobile device.
Well, you can still use a mobile device. I did this on my phone. What I did is on my phone, I just opened up the web browsing app on
Okay.
my phone, and I went to www.ecisd.net, and I just navigated as if I were on a computer.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And then family resources, and then right there is
Yes.
Text Connect. And Mr. Toscano was holding it up for a second as well. Okay. Well, good. Lydia, I hope that helps you. And then, like Mr. Toscano said, we were blasting Mary Ray's email address for, about 10 minutes. So,
And I believe it's in the comments. So, Lydia, if you continue to have any other issues or you just have some questions, feel free to email me and I'd be glad to troubleshoot with you.
all right. Thank you so much, Mary. Hang
Thank
out just in case we get another one. If we get any more questions in the next couple of minutes. But Mr. Toscano, thank you very much for going over, the COVID numbers, because yeah, when you go to the week, let's see if I could find the location. There we go. Well, it is a little worrisome when you see these last two, and when you see it without the context that you gave us, it's worrisome. I mean, it's very frightening looking.
Right. Right. And, again, our number one priority is safety, for our students, for our staff, but for the greater community. And we want to make sure we're doing our part. But all along the way, we've said that we can't have a public health crisis turn into a public education crisis as well. And we know how important, particularly for our younger children in the community, for them to be able to get to school every day. And in many cases, so that their parents can get to work as well. And so our goal has always been to do everything that we can to get our kids in school and to keep them there, and to make sure that there are options for families for their children. And, we're going to keep doing everything that we can, despite what's going on with COVID in the community, to stay open safely for children that are comfortable coming face to face, and continue to offer the option of remote for those that it's working for. And, also, as we've said continuously, if your child's struggling remotely, um, you know, give us a chance face to face, even if it's only parts of the day or week, because remote and learning environments don't work well for all kids, and they don't necessarily work as well for all of us as educators. And so, we just want to work together to make sure that each child doesn't fall behind at all, and when they do, that we mitigate that. And if remote modes of instruction aren't working, let's work together to get some face to face in there. And I can assure you that we have gotten really good at risk mitigation. Our children are doing a fantastic job. And our staff, of course, are as well. So the data shows that. And, I do believe that, coming off of the holidays, that the safest way for us as a school community to contribute to suppressing the spread of COVID-19 is to get everybody in school when they're at home in social circles and, out in the public. That's when we're seeing the spread increase. When we get everybody back into school, we're not part of the problem, is what it seems like. And so that's what the data is saying. So we want to do our part. We want to stay open. We want to keep our kids in our buildings, and we want to do it in a way that's safe for everybody. And so we're committed to doing that.
We'll do a couple questions just rolled in. Jennifer asked, "How is the COVID test administered?"
So there's an example in the video on the link that we shared earlier, but it's a swab. It's a short swab in each nostril. It's not deeply penetrating. It's a 10 to 15-second process. I think, in fact, in other districts that are also partnering with community labs that have already moved it into the elementary schools, they have children as young as 6 years old self-administering, and it is self-administered. If you visit the health services page, watch the video, read the FAQs. I believe the video does a really good job of illustrating what's going on. I would also say, Ms. Wilson, that if you have reservations, maybe we could arrange to be able to observe, possibly what it looks like, or give you a better indication, connect you with the campus nurse to explain it a little further. But having been tested for COVID outside of community labs, I wished I would have been tested by community labs, because as many of us in the community who have been tested have experienced, when that swab goes up there and tickles your brain, it's pretty invasive. It's pretty tough. And for littles, that would be overwhelming. This is not that.
All right, and then for this one, I'll bring Mary Ray back on. Joe Alex Garcia asks, is the Talking Points for Parents app being used by teachers?
I believe that Talking Points is being used at the high school. Each campus, the principal decided what avenue would be best for their campus. So some campuses are using Remind, others may be using Class Dojo or Talking Points. So I would recommend that you contact your child's campus to find out what tool they are specifically using.
All right, thank you very much, Mary Ray. And so, we're gonna, bring this to a close. But Mary Ray, thank you so much for your expertise and great presentation with Text Connect. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on. I hope it was helpful, and I just encourage parents. It's a great way to keep informed of what's going on with your students.
All right, thank you so much, Mary Ray. And then, Mr. Toscano, we're at a close here, so I'll leave you with the final comments as we say goodbye here.
Yeah, just thanks to everybody for joining this evening. If you have any questions or concerns, reach out to your campuses, and know that if you have pain points, if you're struggling, if communication's not going well, or your experience isn't what you expect, and anything that we're working together on, please reach out to your campus administration, and they'll work with you. They'll work with you to solve the problem. They'll work with you to make the adjustments. We're not here to make excuses. We're here to make circumstances better for each of your children and for all of our employees. And so we're going to continue to work hard. We're going to continue to work hard to serve you and to partner with you in the best interest of the children that we serve in this community. So thank you for joining us this evening. And I hope you have a safe and fantastic weekend.